I'll start recording then.
And so will I.
Hang on, got to find the right button. There we go.
Right. We're both.
Microphone.
We are both definitely recording. We are both definitely recording on the correct inputs, and we're definitely live streaming.
Great.
Fantastic. I won't bother recording the Zoom because there's no point. I can always download it if need be. So, right.
Yeah, but it's still worrying.
Right. Ooh. I'm not showing my audio yet. Just going to tweet out the link.
I think I need any of that. Oh yeah, that's what I did.
That's done. And what's the link?
Laura's at work, so Laura's not going to be on the YouTube anyway.
Ah, that's a shame. Sorry, that sounded really insincere.
No,
that is genuine. That is genuinely a shame because she's most of our engagement comes from her or Bez or George.
They did look completely fake last week when 3 different people turned up at 3 different times.
Yeah, it's like different. Yeah, genuinely were different people. Yeah. Yes. Hello, YouTube.
I know we're all here early today. Confused everyone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I said on Twitter at about 7:40, expecting you to be late, and I logged in 20 minutes early, and there you were.
All right, thanks.
No, it's good. It's good. That's what I'm saying. Right. Is that? No, that's not there yet.
Trying to manage my life a bit better. But
well, it's working.
Yeah, sort of.
That looks
like. Also trying to reduce my stress levels. I've had a real, last month of stress.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm trying to reduce my stress level by almost not giving a shit as much.
Well, you know how I just couldn't wait to get my life back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not happened yet.
Has it not?
They just seem to be just as busy. Well, there's a guy at work.
You've got no wedding. You're not directing the show.
I know, but I'm working stupidly early and I'm working stupidly late, and it just always seems to be something on. I've had one evening
you're
off.
up at 4 a.m. now as well.
Yeah. Well, somebody at work left, so and it was someone that had been there a very long time, and as a result, I've ended up picking up a lot of his work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Surely they can hire people this time.
Yeah. I've been taken off my delivery and I'm doing his delivery instead. So it's like, yeah.
Is it a better delivery for the old tips?
I'll let you know at Christmas. But I've already had someone ask me what I want for
your
Christmas.
Postman, people.
Yeah, I've already had people asking what I want for Christmas.
Oh, really?
But yeah, no, I always say no. I don't want anything. Thank you.
Tip your postman, and let us film in your house, especially if you're in Dublin.
Yeah.
But the fact is, no one listened. So what we've worked out is most of our listeners are in America. Hello, America.
Yeah, we've it never used to be. It used to be about a third or 20% of our listenership was in America. But now the scales have been tipped and we're about 60% American audience and about 30% UK and 10% rest of the world. So that's really good. Hello, America.
So Americans like 2 English lads having a chat.
Yeah. Not so much on YouTube. YouTube, we get hardly anyone. But yeah. Sorry, YouTube. You need to get better.
Yeah, well, we don't really promote it. So that's
we've only got 28 subscribers on YouTube, which is just tiny, so it's fine.
It's whoever, more than I thought we'd have, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's whoever joins in. It's whoever joins in, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. The big bucks is the I say bucks don't get paid, but the big numbers of the podcast, and that's what we really care about. The YouTube is another medium of getting it out there, and people can see our faces. So yeah, we appreciate. We appreciate you 28 people that
talking about this, we can see your face on the old Grid Talk chat.
You can, but let's save that for the actual podcast because
don't ignore that I said that.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. People will pick it up.
We're gonna have to grant.
Right. So I'm recording, you're recording. I've activated the live stream. We're not recording on Zoom. You've checked.
Sorry guys, I have a cough as well. So I will be dropping in and out.
Now the reason I'm going through all this stuff. The reason I'm going through all this stuff over and over is because it seems to be every week we have some kind of audio fail, which means I have to just rip the audio from the live stream.
It's been my fault.
Well, no, it's been mine as well. 1 week. 1 week was my fault, and then 1 week was your fault. And I think the week that you weren't here and I had Tom from Everything F1, I cocked up and I didn't put the right input stream on. So I sounded like I was in a toilet. But the stupid thing was, it was working fine on the live stream. So, like, my microphone was on the live stream, but it wasn't on the recording. So then I had to
That's
just
the
use
problem.
the live stream.
That's the same with mine, isn't it? My recording's been taking it off my laptop, so I sound like I'm in a toilet.
Yeah. But we've decided we're now going to check audio before we start recording,
I mean,
like professional people.
It's not like we've been doing this for 64 episodes.
Yeah. And well over a year. Cool. All right. Should we get this show on the road? Yeah. Okay, hang on. I've just lost my sound effects board. There it is. I'm just going to move that over there onto a different screen.
Mr. Howson's already been on.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Alert. Tom has found a new show to be on. Well, no, he hasn't.
Yes. We're going
He hasn't.
We're going to talk about that later,
he hasn't.
George. I think it's safe to say I am not a news anchor.
Yeah.
George,
I promise I will be on Grid Talk soon. I'm sorry.
I've started Googling like auto prompters and stuff to stop it from my eyes moving left and right as I'm reading the scripts. It's just really,
Just use your mouse and go up.
Yeah, well, no, because your eyes still move when you read it. I thought, oh yeah, no one's going to see my eyes moving that little bit, but yeah, no. It looked fantastic, George. It looked really good.
Yeah, I want that tire graphic.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That looked awesome. However, it's just the numpty that was presenting that was the problem.
Yeah, better than the numpty they had before, the computer AI voice.
What, Tilly? Yeah,
Tilly.
That's fine.
Tilly got fired. Anyway, we'll talk about this in a minute.
We will. I'm sure we will. We'll give Grid Talk some more promo. Right, should we start the podcast then?
Yes.
Okay. I'm on the beer tonight.
Big hit there for Fernando
I'm on the St. Clementines. Orange juice and lemonade.
Very cheeky.
And the bit here. I've simply got 2 orange drinks going because I'm on the reason.
Right, let me know if this is too rude what I say at the start.
That clock goes slowly. It is, it's gone. Oh, God.
Don't make me laugh too much, otherwise I'll start coughing.
Hits David Coulthard and he's out. George Russell is the Formula 2 champion.
I've got a pen, which normally annoys Tom. This
Lots of
pen
clicking there.
Big one.
that I can't click. And it's not even a pen, it's a stylus.
Welcome to the Monkeyseat, the podcast that will never run out of rubber, no matter how dry it gets. My name is Tom.
For fuck's sake. I was literally going to go with, I'm Carl, who's as worn out as Ocon's tyres. I was thinking, I won't go with the Hamilton joke, because Tom will go with the Hamilton joke. I'll go with the Ocon one. Oh, there we go. Right.
There we go.
Carry on.
Lots of rubber.
2 Ocon jokes in a row.
Excellent. We are a fully independent podcast hosted by 2 opinionated friends who like to put the world to rights and seemingly have the same jokes.
You can find us on all major podcasting platforms by searching the Monkeyseat podcast.
You can get in touch with us by leaving a 5-star review to get a shout out on the show, or you can visit monkeyseatpod.com to support us with cash.
And we're on Cashola or just cash today? Just cash.
Just cash. I've missed out the order.
Okay, and we're on all socials at Monkeyseat Pod. So please get in touch and tell us why we're wrong or right.
We would like to acknowledge again all the great work of our partner charity, Furballs Rescue, who are continuing to do great work in our local community.
Your local area.
With rehoming. You can stop saying that now. Rehoming abandoned cats who need funding far more than we do. So head to furballsrescue.org to see how you can help. So yeah, how are you?
I'm good. I've got a cough.
You've got a cough.
I've got a cough. Not COVID. I've been tested.
Good.
I've had it for the last week. It's just like, oh my God.
And you've got a cough. I've got a beer. I've decided today I need a beer. So that's
really?
I'm deciding to be unprofessional and drink alcohol whilst podding. Sorry.
Nice. Don't drink and pods, lads.
No, definitely not.
That's quite a sensible thing to be saying.
Don't be a dick. Don't be me. Do what I don't.
Well, it's not dangerous. Well, it could be dangerous. I mean, your first line's dangerous. Anyway, yeah, typically. But how did we neither of us go with the Hamilton joke?
I don't know. No idea.
Anyway, so you, yeah, I'm just making sure it's not in anything that I'm missing. So you were on the old Grid Talk. You appeared today.
I recorded it
in the corner, getting run over by the tire in the.
Yeah, recorded Tuesday night. So Grid Talk, which some of you will know, do have me and Carl on sometimes, and various other podcasts.
Not me,
as well.
I'm never available.
It's a lovely community of people that all kind of get together and do race reviews straight after the race on Sundays. And they've just relaunched a podcast that they started recently, but then abandoned. It was F1 News Today, which was an AI voice doing news, and it was got a bit of a negative response from certainly the community involved and some of the fans as well. So they've decided to axe that and decided to put real people doing it instead. And I was the first one to do it. And what I learned from that is it's very hard to just read a script, and I am not a news anchor and never will be. It looks phenomenal. It looks brilliant. There's some really good visual effects.
Like, compared to this, I mean, I have a background.
Yeah, you know. It looks great. But just ignore the numpty who's reading the headlines.
It's better than the numpty they had before, the AI voice, which Grid Talk will accept. Was a bit.
I will admit, like I thought, oh, okay, that's F1 News Today, great. So it's good. They've got this girl to come on and do stuff every day. That's great. I listened to the first episode. I got about 2 minutes in. I was like, I can't listen to this anymore.
I mean, at least I'm literally. I don't need. Weirdly, I found it on LinkedIn. Jared put it up on LinkedIn, and I decided to click on it. And then found your face.
Yeah. Well, if you'd have been following the chat in Slack, you'd have known that I was doing the first one anyway.
No, I knew you were doing the first one, but I didn't know when it was coming out.
Okay.
And then I found your face on it. I was like, oh, hi, what? I knew you were doing it, but I didn't realize quite when or how.
But yeah, that's good. Also, anything else new for you this week?
New from me. I'm still down in Dublin. My house has been knocked down. I now don't have the house is 3 walls.
I thought you were having it renovated, not destroyed.
I mean, yeah, so did we. So we knocked down the outer walls thinking, yeah, grand. And to find all the inner walls were floating and had no foundations and weren't stuck to the ground. So we're literally falling over. So they had to be pushed over. And agreed by our engineer, by the way, if Kerry County Council are listening to this, it's all, we had
sure
to do
they will
safety.
be. Kerry County Council are known for their Formula One knowledge.
We had to do our safety, safety. So yeah, we knocked it all over. So literally 3 walls, it's all remains, and foundations are being dug, and they go next week. Except I'm not seeing any of it because I'm up in Dublin, which is about 3.5 hours away from where I actually live. I'm working up here at the moment on some Channel 5 pile of rubbish that no one's going to see, but I should really cut that because, yeah.
Great. Let me timestamp. Let me
might be slanderous that.
let me timestamp that, and we'll take that out.
No, I've just been told by my wife. Sorry, my wife's just on the old YouTube, and she should be in work now, but she's obviously just ahead of us. She's going into work at 8. And she just says, we have 1 wall. I didn't even realize we only had 1 wall, but I thought we had 3. But we only have 1 wall. And Kerry County Council backing Verstappen.
Yes, I have heard this.
I don't know why they're backing Verstappen. Well, I suppose there's no Irish drivers in there. When was the Irish driver? Eddie Irvine?
Yeah, he was technically Northern Irish, I believe. Belfast,
we're claiming.
I think. Yeah, it's fine. He's good. Although I did hear a funny story while I remember it at the time vaguely when Jordan won the first race, their first race, they didn't have, because he was driving for them at the time, but I don't think he was driving for them actually then. But when Eddie Irvine won a race, they had to play the British national anthem because he had a British racing license. And when Jordan won their first race, they didn't have the Irish national anthem, so they played the British national anthem.
Oh,
which went down
and in
very
the 90s
well
as well, wasn't that?
Yeah, it was like peak.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh dear.
Which is funny. I think I heard that on the Shift F1 podcast, which has got.
Are you just trying to name every other podcast?
Yeah, well? It's got an Irish guy who's on it, who's now an American citizen, Danny O'Dwyer.
How have we not got an Irish lad on this?
I don't know. But anyway, I did want to say as well, speaking of Irish descent as well, I had some bad news on Twitter earlier. Our multiple guest of ours, Sean Statman Kelly, his cat Peanut, Stat Cat, fortunately has passed away.
Oh,
so big heart out to Sean and Stat Cat. He was she Peanut could be Yeah, could be any sex, to be honest. But yeah, Peanut was a lovely cat, and a couple of times came to visit us on our podcast,
Yes.
and was sitting on Sean's knee quite a lot during the podcast as well. So sad news, sad news.
Oh, Mr. G95, otherwise known as George, said Ralph Furman was the last Irish driver in F1 about 2003.
Yes, he would have been. Also,
I don't know who he is.
Ralph Furman. Yeah, he's the second ugliest Formula One driver in history behind Sebastian Buemi.
We do not talk about ugliness in this. Like,
yeah, but he was pretty ugly.
I mean,
anyway,
what is the ratio with like good looking versus racing? There is something there.
Maybe
it would seem to be.
Maybe.
Okay.
But while we're talking about ugliness, I made myself particularly ugly at the weekend, going to my to my wife's 30th birthday party.
Your wife's 30th. Oh yeah, drop that one.
Yeah, I went as my favorite wrestler of the 90s, Mr. Hulk Hogan. And I had the blonde mustache and everything, and the blonde wig and skull cap and everything. And people said I looked like Jimmy Savile. So, as we've already established, we have a lot of American listeners on this podcast. And Jimmy Savile, don't Google him. You will get in trouble. So,
you can Google him, and you'll just find a load of "he was a naughty boy."
Yeah. Lots of naughty little boys.
I want to find. Hang on. I want to find something.
This is great podcasting.
I know, but I just want to find something because I was really confused by something. It took me. Oh no, I thought the way our friend Ben went as Steve Austin from wrestling.
He did.
Did you all go as? I'm surprised Darryl didn't go as someone.
No, Darryl went as Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I saw that.
He had a T-shirt.
But then went as Austin 316. Except I did for ages. I thought it just said 311 on his T-shirt, and I couldn't work it out as to why he was 311.
No, it's the Bible. It's the Bible verse 3:16.
Yeah.
John 3:16.
But I just couldn't work it out.
Yeah.
As to why he was that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, your missus has messaged me on Facebook, and I didn't realize. There we go.
Anyway, should we talk about some F1? As we've been on this podcast for a little while now, we've not yet spoken about F1. So
remind me about this week then.
Okay.
Last weekend.
It's the 2 minutes challenge.
With Hamilton in the pack and wet weather, the stage was set for an epic contest in Turkey. Bottas, with a great start, easily held the lead from Verstappen, and Alonso, doing his usual one-lap heroics, got caught by Gasly and pinched into a spin at turn 1. Alonso fell to the back, typically complaining about how stupid Gasly was. Alonso then ploughed into Schumacher, causing him to lose his best shot of points all season. Both offenders getting 5-second penalties for their antics. Leclerc held third from Perez in fourth, but all eyes were on Hamilton, who made a quick work of Vettel, but then got stuck behind Tsunoda, who admitted post-race he compromised his own race to keep Lewis behind him. He eventually passed Yuki on lap 8, but Sainz was the big mover, passing car after car, climbing to 12th by this point. Hamilton then made quick work of Gasly and Norris and started reeling in Perez. Red Bull told Max his tyres were better than Bottas and he could start to push, but Valtteri got the same message and they both upped their pace. Tsunoda and Mazepin span a bit, and Perez and Hamilton began dicing on track with an incredible 5-corner battle spanning 2 laps. It ended with Perez holding position brilliantly, and then once he had held up Hamilton enough to get Max out of his pit window, he pitted out of his way. Mercedes told Hamilton to pit, but Lewis refused, saying his tyres were fine. So Mercedes had to rethink of their strategy. And also, you muted that, but there we go. Sainz had a slow stop to drop him to 10th, and Vettel made the mother of all gambles and came out on medium slick tyres. It took precisely 5 seconds for Vettel to realise he made a mistake and tiptoed back for fresh intermediate tyres. Leclerc now in the lead. He asked where would he finish if he didn't stop. The response, if you keep everyone behind you, P1. Duh. Bottas passed Leclerc with ease with 11 laps to go, and Leclerc pitted, leaving just Ocon and Hamilton yet to pit. Hamilton determined to hold on to his dry tyres, started losing time hand over fist, and Mercedes again told him to pit. This time he obeyed and he emerged 5th. He was angry at the team for giving away track position, and he hit the graining phase and had no answer for Leclerc in 4th. Limped home in P5 with Bottas taking a dominant win. Red Bull completed the podium 2nd and 3rd with Ocon driving a whole distance without stopping in P10.
Do you know what? Am I live? What? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I muted it for my cough. What happened is I unmuted it for my cough and then put it back on mute.
Well done.
So I'm sorry about that. I was trying not to cough.
That's fine.
I was like, I'll be sensible. I put it on mute, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I had to negotiate. I had to negotiate a very excited cat for the entire 2 minutes. He
Yeah,
kept
I saw
jumping
that.
on me.
I saw that. The cat was all over you. Right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or the tires in the room.
Okay.
What happened with Hamilton?
What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts?
Like, right, so the point being proven by Ocon is that you can go on one set of tires the whole way through, which I want to talk about in a bit as to how that works. Anyway, you can go on one set of tires all the way through, and you can end up being in a better position than you should be by not pitting. You obviously save 28 seconds or whatever it was. Hamilton, I mean, the advice was to come in, and Hamilton didn't listen and kept pushing back. And then he got a bit antsy with Bono that, I should have come in. I shouldn't have come in. I'm behind. But there must be a safety thing on that as well. If they're thinking, God, these tires are never going to make it, then there is a safety issue on that. Although Ocon's did, but Ocon was further down the pack, and he wasn't trying to push the car as much as Mr. Hamilton would. I think you probably would have, if Hamilton stayed on those tires, my worry would have been that you would have got puncture, or you'd have gone a bit slip slidey, and you'd have ended up sort of in the same place that Norris was the week before. I think there needs to be a hierarchy and a decision maker on these things as to what happens with the pit. The fact it is a team sport. If the team is telling you to come in, you should come in, and that should be. I know your points are more important, but there is also a huge amount of information that they have that your little, but that you can't understand. But also, there must be in the same breath, I'm saying Hamilton knows what's going on because he's driving the sodding car. Should he come in, or should he have stayed out? I think he should have come in a lot earlier and been on better tires. But then the thing is, as Button kept going on about, there's that horrid, after 5 laps or whatever it is, there's that horrid period for 10 laps where your tires just are blistering and you can't work out whether they're hot or cold or what. So that probably, I think a lot of the strategies were just waiting to stop the rain and see if they could go on slicks, which obviously Mr. Vettel found out. We're going to talk about that later. But obviously that was not going to be a strategy that was going to work. So maybe everyone should have pitted earlier, and whether there was an advantage, Ricardo pitted earlier.
Yeah, that didn't work for him. That
didn't work. So I don't know what the best case scenario is. I don't think there is any right answer on this, that any strategist, I can't pronounce that word. Strategist. Whichever any strategist can get involved in. It's, I don't know. There is no right answer. Go on. What's your thoughts, Tom? Because I haven't really said an answer. I've just garbled.
Do you know what? I'm dead proud of you.
Why?
Because after well over, this is our second season of doing this podcast, and the first season you you would quite happily admit that you had less knowledge than most on Formula One at the time, and that was probably the most eloquent you've ever sounded on this podcast. So, well, no, all really good points. Yeah, you really, I'm dead proud of you. No, you really are all really solid points. My thoughts on it are that in those situations, the driver has to have a say. Hamilton had his say. The team listened to him, and it was the wrong call. Hamilton made a mistake there. Me, I'm a big Hamilton fan. It was the wrong call. I can see exactly why he's done it.
Wrong call from who? From Hamilton?
From Hamilton. The team were absolutely spot on. At the time that they called him in, Perez was just starting to go through the grading phase. Hamilton probably would have jumped Perez because he would have overcut Perez whilst Perez was during the grading phase. Perez may well have got back ahead of him when Hamilton went through that grading phase, but at the time it was touch and go. He may have jumped Perez on that pit stop. because he didn't, and he decided to go long, he was thinking of the big picture. He was thinking of the race, trying to get close to Verstappen. He wasn't managing his own race. He was managing his championship, and you've got to manage the race before the championship. And he was thinking, how can I get in a better position for the championship? Which is exactly what he did in China 2007, which was the team's fault, to be fair, when he ran out of tyres and ended up in the gravel and got no points. Today, exactly the same thing. Or today, Sunday,
he could have done the same thing as he did.
It could have happened again.
He could have done the same thing as the Red Bull ring, where he literally limped over with a puncher. And Ocon went for it, but I can understand why Ocon did, because he had nothing to lose.
But what you got to remember with Ocon, is Ocon said after the race, that they were considering doing a 0 stop anyway, or if conditions remained the same, they were considering not stopping.
And he'd had previous, because last year he did everything but the first lap on the same set of tires, so he knew he could manage them.
Yeah, he was expecting to do the entire race, if conditions allowed, on no stops. And also, because he was expecting to do that, he was obviously looking after his tyres a lot earlier. He had a much higher speed setup, a much lower downforce than Hamilton, so he wouldn't have been putting the tyres through as much stress, and he'd been lapped. So he didn't do the full distance. He did one lap less than the full distance. So, and at the end of that time, he was losing so much time. He was losing 4 or 5 seconds a lap on the last couple of laps. And it's only Alfa Romeo shit show, which we'll get to later on, that stopped him not dropping out of the points. And he was in 10th place anyway. Now, I don't think that strategy worked. Yes, he got to the end. It didn't gain him anything, because he lost 20 seconds to the guys behind him just on the last few laps, and he had to manage his entire race. So I don't think that 0 stop strategy worked. It definitely wouldn't have done for Hamilton. If Hamilton had stayed out to the end, then he would definitely have been passed by Perez. He definitely would have been passed by Leclerc, and in all likelihood, probably Gasly and Norris as well, because he would have had no defense. He would have had no tires, and he would have just been a sitting duck. You saw those tires at the end. There was nothing, literally nothing. They weren't racing on the rubber. They were racing on the construction compound left at the end. So there was just nothing there.
Can I question this then?
You can question whatever you want. It's your podcast.
Why are they allowed to not pit if they're on inters?
So the requirements to pit in a race is only dependent on it being a dry race.
Why?
So you have to fit 2 different types of tyre compound, unless the race is deemed a wet race, then you don't have to. Because why not?
Because it's unsafe. No,
it depends.
If it's being slicks and on the tyre compounds, that's not be healthy.
If it's safe, it's safe. If it's unsafe, they'll pit. They've got tyre limits, and Pirelli didn't say it couldn't do the full distance, because they've only got one intermediate tyre, and that intermediate tyre is set for every track. So some tracks, the intermediate tyre will become dangerous after 20 laps. Other times, it will probably do 3 race distances, because it's a very soft tyre. So on a track that's very abrasive, like Barcelona, it will probably wear out a lot quicker, and you probably wouldn't get more than 20 laps on it.
Yeah.
Whereas in Turkey, because of the smooth compound on the track, it was very grippy, but wasn't very abrasive, because it also helped by the conditions. So it wore down, the tread went, but it wore down to a slick, and then just stayed in the same window. But then, as I said, towards the end there was no rubber left on those tires, especially in the center. It was just falling apart. So there's no requirements to pit. That's just the way the regulations are. Do you
think they should change the regulations that they have to pit?
I don't think, based on this, no. I don't think there's any reason why you have to change it. The reason they bring in the mandatory stop in a dry race is to put strategy variation in. In a wet race, you've got enough variation because of the conditions. You don't need to mandate a pit stop. And I don't think that's really fair. If you've got someone who can manage their tyres better, manage the conditions better, and go to the end, why not? You wouldn't end up having such. The Turkish Grand Prix last year was a fantastic race, and that was a fantastic race because you had drivers going to the end on the tyres. I mean, obviously they made one stop early in the race, started on wets, then went to winters, then went to the end. Whereas some people start wets, went inters, went to a second set of inters, and then fell back. And and it was a fantastic display last year from Hamilton, which one of his best ever victories. So we would have been deprived of something like that with a mandatory second stop, and that would be a shame, because it kind of takes away from from the skill of the driver. So no,
everyone else did a stop on this. Was there any strategies you thought worked really well? Did anyone do it correctly?
I think, to be honest, I think all the teams did it correctly, apart from Mercedes and Alpine. I know Alpine. Well, yeah, I suppose, and McLaren. Alpine didn't lose anything from their issue. They still would have come 10th. They were lucky to keep 10th in the end, which we'll get onto later. I mean, they asked Ricciardo, could he go quicker on another set of inters? And he said definitely yes. And he couldn't. Well, he could for a bit, but then it was very fluctuating. And then at the end of the race, he had no tyres left. So it was an odd one. It was a really odd race. It was a
risk, wasn't it, to see whether you can make a warmer set go and not have as much graining and see if you can.
Yeah, it just didn't work. It was
like a massive undercut. That's what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really blame Ricciardo for qualifying. I think that was just bad luck. He was the team potentially got him out there at the wrong time. He wasn't the last car on track, or he had time for a whole nother lap. And I know he should have done an extra warm up lap and then gone for a quick lap right at the end, but he didn't. He went for his quick lap early, got the time on the board. And then it just wasn't quick enough. He just tumbled down the times and then went out in Q1. I don't blame him for that particularly. I blame the team for not getting him in the right place. They should have known that the track evolution would have meant that the times were going to tumble. So I don't blame him for that, but he was then in that position. Carlos Sainz started in virtually the same position. Carlos Sainz ended up in the points. Ricciardo was nowhere. So it's just disappointing really from Ricciardo.
Yeah. And so let's keep on talking about the Mercs. I'm going to switch your points here. So the Mercs quicker now, or I don't think they are, and I like to say they're not. Like I think the Mercs aren't as good as they used to be. I don't know what's going on with them.
I think they're better than they used to be, but just Red Bull are even more better. That's not a word. That's not a word.
Great English.
It's all right. It's all right. Most of our fans are American. They don't speak English, so it's fine.
Oh, I mean, let's not abuse the few fans we do have.
You guys don't even speak English. There you go. There's a musical quote. What musical is that? What musical is that? Go on.
I don't know.
Made in Dagenham.
I've never seen it. Never seen it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Red Bulls are better.
You just said you don't think Mercedes are better.
Well, I don't think. Well, sorry. What I'm saying is I don't think Red Bull are better, and I think Mercedes have got poorer. I don't think they're as dominant as they used to be. I don't think it's Red Bull suddenly coming out of the bag because you've got Verstappen, who's an amazing driver, and you've got Perez, and Perez isn't doing that great a job. Awful second seat in Red Bull is an awful second seat to be in. I hope Gasly never goes into it. Anyway, we can talk about that later. But I don't think the Mercs are anything special anymore.
I think they've made Red Bull took better advantage of the regulation changes at the start of the year and came out the block with a really quick car. Mercedes took advantage at the start of the season of a couple of blunders from Red Bull to get a couple of wins on the board. Red Bull with a quicker car pretty much to just before the summer break. I think then Mercedes have managed to get on top of their car. They haven't been bringing updates, but they have been able to make a couple of reliability changes to their car for their power unit, which has helped for the power unit reliability, and it's helped with the power as well. So I think they've made some advances going into the summer break and since the summer break. Do you realize, like, the last time a Red Bull led a session was Zandvoort. The last time Red Bull led a session was Zandvoort. They haven't led a session since then because Mercedes have been the quicker car.
Oh, really?
I say Mercedes. In Monza, it was McLaren, obviously, that had
Mercedes powered.
The pace. Yeah, and then obviously Russia, McLaren led early, and then Mercedes won overall. And obviously this race, Verstappen never hit the front. They've not topped the session since. And I think that just shows that Red Bull haven't gone backwards, but Mercedes have made advances that we didn't think they'd be able to make. And now we're going into this last round, 6 races, 6 points is the difference. It's great. I really hope this goes to the end of the season.
I do feel it's been slightly rigged, though, with all these engine changes just to keep it going, and all the penalty things. It does feel a bit like oh really? Are we only doing that? And Hamilton's got a penalty, and Verstappen's got a penalty, and
Yeah, but that's the
just seems
teams
to be-
that are doing that. It's not like the FIA
Yeah.
are rigging it or anything like that. No, I don't think it's rigged. I just think it's
I'm not saying
last
it's rigged,
time-
sorry. I think that's
the last time Mercedes took an engine change that wasn't forced. Well, the last time Mercedes took any kind of penalty because of for a race due to an engine change was Brazil. What year was it? When Hamilton crashed in qualifying, and then he took a full engine because he's at the back of the grid anyway. He crashed in Q1, and then they just thought, oh, we'll just stick a new engine in because he's at the back anyway. Yeah. That was the last time he actually took a new engine because he'd run out of parts. Was way back in 2016 when he was having lots of engine failures, and then Rosberg had lots of engines. So
is this quite normal? They always end up with more engines. I mean, we're on fourth engine.
Well, no, Mercedes. Well, I mean, the difference is last year we had 17 races. This year we were going to have 22.
And before that, I had no idea. So is 3 engines actually enough? And should we be giving them 4 engines?
Well, they've had 4 up until recently. Then it's dropped to 3, and we've increased the number of races. The teams have known about this for a long time, so there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to build. You know, if they just run the engines down on power, they'll do the whole season on one engine if they run them low on power, but they just won't be competitive.
Yeah.
So it's about performance balance. It's balancing performance against reliability.
Yeah, and
there's absolutely no reason.
And obviously ragging the engine and then taking the penalties.
And that shows.
And then ragging the engine through the
that
field. That
shows the pressure that Red Bull are putting on Mercedes because they're having to take engine penalties because they're not getting the mileage on the engines because they're having to run them in higher modes and having to run them harder and longer because they're not able to look after them because they're under so much pressure.
Yeah.
So it shows that Mercedes have really, really been pushed to the edge this year. They've been pushed beyond the edge. They've been like in Ferrari in 2018, 2019, when they came out with this amazing power unit, and then Mercedes really had to dig deep to get in front of them again. And then they got pegged back with the regulation tweak, the clarification, where it turned out that Ferrari were allegedly cheating. So it kind of really brought the best out of Mercedes in that, and they react so well to changes in power units and people getting ahead of them. They react so well to those changes, and they always come back strong. And anyone who wrote them off this year were crazy. You never write off Mercedes, not after this spell of dominance.
You can never have written them off. I just think, Hamilton's not having the strongest season he's ever had.
No, that's because he's under so much more pressure.
And it's almost showing, the cracks are showing from that pressure now. And obviously Bottas wasn't the greatest driver at the beginning of the season. He's suddenly improved.
No, he's been better since he signed his contract with Alfa.
Is that again in the same way, we were talking earlier about, when you're less stressed and you don't give a hoot.
I think it's definitely a bear thing. I mean, you look at the other drivers that have signed new contracts, like Ocon signed a new contract and then just went off the boil straight away. And someone else did it as well. Perez signed a new contract and then went off the boil. Bottas has been sacked and now he's kind of improved because
But then Perez did that last year. He got sacked by Thingy Bob and then by the pink Mercedes team. And
Formula One is absolutely a confidence game. The confidence for a Formula One driver is massively important to their performance. And if they're under pressure, they're not going to perform. So I just think that's it's a massive confidence part of the game. And Perez hasn't really done the business this year. But this weekend he did. This weekend, absolutely, he did a great job. He did the right job for the team. He was in the pit window. He was ahead of Hamilton. He delayed him on track. He made sure that Verstappen was able to come out in front of him. So even if the conditions changed to dry tyres, they would be able to react to what Hamilton did because Verstappen was ahead on track. If there'd have been a situation where Hamilton had gone long, he got ahead of Perez, got into Verstappen's pit window, and then it dried up, then he would have been able to put pressure on Max, and that didn't transpire. I mean, it wouldn't have transpired anyway, but if it had, Perez had done enough to make sure that Hamilton wasn't going to be ahead of Verstappen had that happened. And that's exactly what he needed to do. So it's a great performance from Perez. It's a great performance from Bottas. And it's what both teams have needed all season and they haven't really had, which just shows the difference the driver makes this year. When the car is dominant, Hamilton and Bottas are separated by and that's testicle.
Yeah.
Whereas when they're having to push the engine and dig deep, Hamilton and Verstappen are streaks ahead of their teammates.
By miles. And talking about like, it sounds like talking about ugly things, as we were earlier. What the hell was
Rough
that?
Bowman.
What the hell was that white thing about? That
I
Honda?
liked that livery,
Hated it.
and I
Hated
don't
it.
like.
I hated it. I kept getting confused as to which bloody team it was, and I was like, "Why is that AlphaTauri? Oh no, that's their last season's outfit, pretty much, in the white." And then I was like, "Oh no, that's Haas. Oh no, it's not. I'm so confused.
I don't like white cars, but that is my favorite white car of the last few years.
Why? It's just boring white with a load of logos on it.
I think it looks smart. I think it looks really
thought
nice.
it looked rubbish. I was like so confused by it. I thought it looked absolutely pants. It was so confusing having another bloody white car on there, and I couldn't understand it. I know it was for the Honda messy divorce.
We lost AlphaTauri's white livery for a navy livery this year, so we've had 2 less white cars on the grid up until today. I could do without the Williams being predominantly white. I could do without the the Haas being predominantly white. And obviously Alpha is kind of predominantly white as well, with a little
Williams
bit of burgundy in there. Well, it's blue and white, but it's predominantly
There's
white.
only white on it.
If you look at the Williams, from the front, it's predominantly white. It's only the rear wing. I'm actually looking at a picture of a Williams right now because it's on I've got the Sky Sports page open in case any breaking news, and there's literally a picture of a Williams on the front of the page. So it's definitely white.
I just don't. I don't think anything. I don't know why. And obviously, I did wonder as to why they still ran it, even though we're not in Japan, this particular event. And obviously, there must be a rule about it. The fact of they have to. If they say they're going to change a livery for a certain date, they have to run with it, whether they like it or not.
I don't think so. But one thing that confused me,
so the graphics change as well.
Yeah, when they say they're going to change a livery, then yeah, but it's not a huge undertaking to change that. But I think Japan's been cancelled for a long time now. If Japan's been cancelled for a few months, I understand why they did this at Japan, but Japan was cancelled. Yeah. So where are we going in 2 races' time? We're going to Mexico, which was where Honda's first win was. They couldn't do it in Japan, so why not do it in Mexico, where actually was their first win?
And you know what? I loved it when McLaren did the golf thing, which was a complete commercial thing because of golf.
No, just laughing because my Peroni bottle's completely disappeared.
It's gone green because it's a green bottle. Why? I loved it that the whole team went blue, and everything went the same thing. It just seemed such a half-assed attempt when it was just the 2 drivers. Everyone else was in their normal gear. And I just feel like if you're going to go for it, lads. Not have this half-assed attempt of, and I just felt like you're not really selling.
I think McLaren knew that when they did the golf livery and they changed the entire team, they knew that idiots like me would pay £85 for a golf hoodie.
Tom, idiots like you would buy the Honda, white.
Yeah, I don't think they're selling them though. I don't think they're selling them though.
But if the whole team went for it and it was all brought in as the same thing, even when Mercedes when they had the and Ferrari when they had their 70-year thing, whatever they had the other last year, they all went into the burgundy. Everything was burgundy. It was great, or maroon or whatever color you want to call it. I just felt like it was almost a bit of a nothing. And even the bloody man Hiroshima or whatever he's called it name is from Honda.
Hiroshima. Or was it Nagasaki?
That's the, I don't care. Yamaha. Even whatever his name is. He didn't even have a white. I was just like, oh, you've just sort of really half-assed this. And you obviously didn't really want to do it. And you sort of were made to do it by someone, but I'm not sure who that someone was because it didn't even feel like Honda was really involved in this. And it just was a bit Like, why are we doing this? This is unimportant, and it's not a commercial venture. I can't quite get it, and it just feels like, oh, this is just because we have to, and it's a bit of a messy divorce going on with Honda. And then try to then tie it with we've done this because of the big the Honda agreement. Sorry, what Honda agreement? It's messy.
No, there is an agreement with Honda. To be fair,
I mean,
they announced
sorry.
last week there was a deal that they're going to have some people staying on in the Red Bull powertrains division, and they're also doing future projects together away from F1. So it's not a messy divorce. I don't agree with that.
No, but it's just like, oh yeah, what we're announcing is that the Red Bull team are going to hire some of the Honda team that have been working on the engines, and we've just bought all their IP, and that's it, really. Admittedly, they did say about the other stuff that they're doing, but that seemed a bit vague as well. I'm guessing they're going into DTM or something as well, as a Honda. Actually, they're in DTM as a Honda, aren't they?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I think they might be in DTM as a Honda.
DTM have roofs, so therefore I'm not interested.
Talking about that, I see Liam Lawson came second and would have been the nearest. He would have been the first rookie to win, and he just screwed it on the last race. Anyway.
Oh, what, in F3?
No, in DTM.
Oh, DTM. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Liam Lawson was driving Honda in DTM.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Or Red Bull in DTM. Anyway, see, I know a little bit.
There we go. You know more than me about DTM.
Someone else might be able to tell me a bit more about that. I did see it.
So anyway,
someone said, "Oh, we're really our thoughts are with Liam Lawson." I was like, "Has he died or something?" Looked on it. No, he just came second.
Oh.
Anyway, as you don't care about things with roofs on, let's get back to. Well, we haven't really discussed the Bottas thing, have we?
No, we haven't
discussed that.
Well, we discussed Bottas and that he had a good performance. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it was like Bottas back to his best, or was it, Lewis Hamilton? If he qualified on pole. Would he have won the race had he not had to take an engine penalty?
Probably, because he would have been so far ahead, and he would have had the chance to change tyres and not been so much, and it wouldn't. I think worry.
I think it's a given that he would have won the race, but would Bottas have had the pace? Because obviously Mercedes wouldn't. Mercedes wouldn't have allowed Bottas to win that race if Hamilton was behind him, but would he have had the pace to stay with Hamilton? It's the question. I'm not certain he would have done.
Or is Hamilton wasn't on his finest form this week? Either way, because he sat behind a load of cars that he should have taken over a lot quicker.
Hamilton, I thought he was on good form. I mean, we saw Yuki Tsunoda, he destroyed his own race to try and keep Hamilton behind him, because he actually said afterwards, I want Verstappen to win.
Yeah.
And obviously he's part of the Red Bull. He's part of the Red Bull organization, so he's going to do that. And then he went backwards after that. He ruined his tyres and he ended up finishing nowhere. So I get that. Other cars he got past quite easily. It was only Perez, again, obviously for obvious reasons, that he couldn't get past. I think he would have got past him eventually. Had he stopped when Mercedes told him to stop, I do think that he would have been then fighting Perez, and then he would have been ahead of Leclerc as well. So he would have come at least fourth and maybe third. I don't think he probably would have got up towards Verstappen, but I don't think he would have passed Verstappen. I think he would have been up. It would have been a comfortable third had he stopped when Mercedes told him to. As a result, if he'd have then gone to the end, I think he would have finished sixth or seventh, or nothing at all, or may have even DNF'd. So they went with him because he wanted to do it, but they should have. Hindsight's great, but because again, if it had dried up, then it would have been a masterstroke, and he would have stopped onto soft tyres and won the race. Yeah. So you never know. You've got to try these things, but in the end, in hindsight, no, he didn't do so well. But I think Bottas, great job. He did everything that he needed to do, but that's because Hamilton wasn't there, I think.
Yeah, I still think he did a good race, and he still probably would have come second. I still think he was probably better than the Red Bulls. There's fireworks going on. I don't know if you can hear this. There's fireworks going outside. Fireworks are illegal in Ireland.
Oh, really? Didn't know that.
Buy fireworks. So fuck knows where these have come from. Anyway, so sorry if I'm getting distracted by that. So let's talk about Mr. Insane.
Mr. Vettel. What the hell was he thinking? Apparently, it was completely his choice as well.
Yeah, you heard it on the radio.
Yeah,
He was like, put me on softs. I want to go on
softs.
softs.
You want softs? Yeah, let's go on softs. Okay, really? We'll go on softs. In fact, yeah, let's go on medium tires, the ones that you can't warm up.
Oh yeah, that's what he went on, didn't he? He went on mediums.
Mm.
Yeah, if you went on softs, it probably would have made more sense, and it would have been interesting to see had he gone on softs whether people would have been more interested in that.
I still think it was an insane decision. I mean, he just had no grip at all.
He would have had more grip on the softs, but then it would have been a very
he would have had. But I still he was still floating on the water. It doesn't matter how soft the rubber is. If you've got no purchase of the racetrack, you're not going to have grip.
Yeah.
You know, just going into the pit lane at 30 miles an hour, he still managed to spin it then. I don't think even Mazepin would have spun that in wet tyres.
Yeah, I don't know what he was going through his poor little mind, but who cares? I mean, it was quite funny to watch him go around for a lap and nearly smash it into the wall.
It was funny when, like, just every couple of seconds, yellow flag, oh, that'll be Vettel. Yellow flag, oh, that'll be Vettel.
Yeah.
He's off track again. Oh, he's off track again. I reckon that lap he spent more time off track than on.
Yeah.
Dear, bless him.
He really did.
I started trying to listen to the Beyond the Grid episode that's just come out. That's got Lawrence Stroll as the guest, and it's just I've listened to the first 20 minutes of it, and I'm not sure I can listen to the rest of it. It's just a load of.
Is Beyond the Grid the Coulthard one?
No, Tom Clarkson, a journalist that I have no respect for.
Right.
Not that I'm a better journalist, because I'm not, but yeah, he's so like on Formula One's payroll. It's just like the questions he's asking are questions that Formula One wants him to ask, and not so much Formula One. I think it's Lawrence Stroll. Genuinely, I think like it's like if you look at Drive to Survive and the way that Lawrence Stroll and Lance Stroll were portrayed in that, and the way that they were trying to big up Lance Stroll because so many people watch Drive to Survive and they want people to think that Lance Stroll is a good driver. And yeah, Lance Stroll is a good average driver who's had 5 years experience in Formula One to get better. He's nothing special. They've got Tom Clarkson there, who is not an idiot. You know, he's been around Formula One for a very long time. And then he says things like, Lance has really got potential, hasn't he? And it's like, yeah, okay, where's the 50 quid in your pocket now? It's just, and then he says things like, "Oh, and nobody, you'd be a fool if you betted against Lawrence Stroll not winning in this team and stuff." It's just like, oh, yeah, pull it out of his. Yeah, I'm going to stop there before we get sued.
He's obviously
yes. Yeah, it just annoys me. It just annoys me because I think it just takes away from the credibility of that podcast, because it's a decent podcast, but it just takes away from the credibility. Anyway,
talking about paid drivers. Mick Schumacher making it to Q3.
Yeah, well, Q2, but yeah.
Q2, sorry.
Yeah,
Q2.
yeah. It was, phenomenal. I was really impressed with that. He did really well.
The problem is, if I was Sainz, I'd be looking behind my shoulder quite quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Sainz has done enough this year to show that. I think when they signed Sainz, they thought we need someone for 2 years as a holding pattern until we get Mick Schumacher in there. And I don't think they realised just how good Carlos Sainz was when they signed
now
him.
they've sort of screwed themselves over, haven't they?
Yeah, because he had a reasonably slow start to the season getting used to the car, and he's shown himself to be every bit as good as Charles Leclerc, which I thought he would be. I thought he'd push Charles Leclerc this year. I didn't think he'd be as close as he is, and Leclerc's had some bad luck, to be fair, as well. But he's definitely shown himself to be competition for Charles Leclerc. They've both got positives and negatives. I think Charles Leclerc's peak is going to be higher than Carlos Sainz, but at the moment he's prone to mistakes. Carlos Sainz is a bit more consistent. He's a bit more consistent than Charles Leclerc. There's a reason why they call him Sunday Sainz, because on Sundays you don't see him, but he just does amazing things on a Sunday.
True.
Charles Leclerc's quicker over one lap, and I'd say his overall potential is probably higher than Sainz's. But Sainz is he's Mr. Reliable. He's like a good Sergio Perez.
Yeah,
he would be the guy that you would want to sign in a team to be that like amazing number 2 driver who might steal a championship. He's your Nico Rosberg.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. But I think he's. I mean, he is great, and I think Schumacher is one to watch in the future.
Yeah.
I think he is showing that he's got his dad's talent in there somewhere.
I do think if you had the Ferrari, if the Ferraris were a dominant car that were winning every race, like Mercedes have been the last few years, I think over a season, Sainz beats Leclerc in a dominant car. In a dominant car, I think Sainz beats Leclerc over a season because he's got that consistency, that level-headedness, and that calm. Whereas Leclerc, I can see if it's for race wins and championships, I can see him making more mistakes than Carlos Sainz.
Okay, talking about a team that Mick should have probably gone in and not the Haas.
Oh, I don't know.
Go on. What happened with the Alphas?
Do you actually know what happened?
No,
do you know what happened? Right.
No.
Alfa Romeo.
Go on.
Alfa Romeo.
You put this on, and I'm like, I have no idea what happened.
So, Alfa Romeo's weekend consists of this. They have a guy who doesn't care anymore in Kimi Räikkönen, who was
I thought I was showing Nazi there.
No, who was screaming blue murder during practice that his drinks bottle was leaking, and it was leaking in the cockpit. And then they said, "Oh, okay, we'll look into it." And then he was. And then it said, "Oh, well, apparently it's not connected, so it's leaking." He goes, "Yeah, it's not connected because I unplugged it because it was leaking." It's like, "But you didn't even tell your team you'd unplugged it." Well, that's kind of part of the reason why it's leaking. And he was having such a go at his team. Yeah, he was really laying into him, and everyone goes, "Oh, that's Kimi, innit? That's just Kimi." And then what happens? Yeah, but what happens after the race? You know. Everyone is getting on Hamilton's case for like being angry because he literally feels like he lost a race because of a bad decision. And yet Kimi Räikkönen is screaming blue murder because he was getting a wet leg. I'm sorry, who's the bigger dick there? It's Kimi Räikkönen. There's a reason why I don't like him. And that's one of the reasons. So there's that. Then we go into the race. Antonio Giovinazzi is having an average race. He's ahead of Räikkönen because Räikkönen just obviously is no good. And Räikkönen's coming up behind him. He's got pace.
Yeah.
There's an outside chance of a point or 2 points here. Giovinazzi is told to allow Räikkönen through because he's the quicker car. He ignores the call and doesn't let him through. And then he gets a second call. He ignores the call and doesn't let him through. Alpha do not push the issue. They should be telling him this is an instruction. You need to let him through because there's points on offer here. And then when it comes down to it, you've got Ocon, who's falling off the cliff because he's got tyres that are literally nothing left on them. And then they forget that Giovinazzi has been lapped. And so they say to him, charge battery for a push lap in 2 laps time. So he spends 2 laps charging his battery up to a nice full level and then crosses the line to see a checkered flag. Finishing 1 second behind Esteban Ocon. That 1 second he could have easily made up in the last 2 laps had he been pushing.
Yeah.
And also, Kimi Räikkönen had probably lost 5 or 6 seconds stuck behind him because he wasn't letting him through. And they didn't tell him what lap he was on. So it's just like, whether they weren't telling him because they were pissed off because he hadn't let Räikkönen through, I don't know. But yeah, so he was just like, he didn't even realize he'd been lapped. They didn't tell him, and then he wasn't able to push for that point. So Alfa Romeo, once again, have lost the opportunity at points due to their own ineptitude and the fact that they have signed rubbish drivers, and I have no sympathy for them whatsoever.
Okay, so
next
talking about
year,
the Alpha, yeah, who is the next year for them?
Well,
they still aren't saying.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why I think they're not saying. I think Giovinazzi's out. I think he's been told he's out, and that's why he didn't let Räikkönen through.
Okay.
I genuinely don't think they know who the new driver's going to be, but I think part of the condition of the rumored sale to Andretti Autosport of the Swiss team means that
we're getting an American.
Michael Andretti will want to have final say over who that driver is. The overwhelming favorite at the moment is Colton Herta, because
who's an American.
Yeah, he's obviously a youngster in IndyCar. Won a couple of races this year. Won 3 races this year. He won just as many races as Alex Palou, who was the championship winner in the end. So solid driver.
Andretti, aren't they linked with Zach Brown
though? Zach Brown, I think he's partly involved
Andretti.
With.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
there's obviously some crossover.
You know, yeah. I think it's more of a sponsorship thing rather than a link. There's no direct link there. It's yeah. I think there's no. Yeah, it's more of a. I think it's more of a sponsorship partnership type thing, and that wouldn't be linked with F1 at all. But no, it's Andretti. Obviously, they run team in
Yeah.
Extreme E. They run team. I think they got a team in Formula E. I think they do. And they're obviously in IndyCar
Don't
as
think
well.
they do.
They're not. I think
Charlie. No.
wasn't it BMW? Aren't they BMW Andretti or something like that? I could be wrong. Hey, we run a podcast that talks about Formula E, and I don't even know that. Anyway. So I think Andretti looks likely they're gonna make that. If it doesn't go through, then they'll find someone else to put in that car. If it does go through, then they're gonna have final say.
Andretti Motorsport.
I was right.
They've
There we
now
go.
left. So
Well, BMW have left, but Andretti is still in there.
I wonder who. Yeah, are they just putting it down as Andretti?
Yeah. So yeah, Alfa Romeo, massive shit show.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about Fernando Alonso, if that's all right.
Do we have to? Bez
Well,
isn't on.
Is Bez on the chat? Bez isn't
No.
on the chat. Oh no. This would have triggered Bez. This would have triggered Bez massively.
I'm sure. Should I see if he's around?
That's fine. Don't worry about it. So Alonso, firstly, what did you think of the tag with Gasly? Was that a penalty or not? I know it obviously was a penalty, but do you think it should have been?
No.
I don't think so either. I think he was pinched. He had space both
So I
sides.
thought you were bashing Alonso here, not.
I'm talking about the time where Alonso
Gasly.
was spun round.
Yes.
Yeah. So Gasly had Perez
that
up
was
the
3
inside.
into 1, and
Yeah. Gasly had
where
Perez.
could Gasly go? Where could Gasly go? There was nowhere to go,
He did have more space.
and it was lap 1. It was lap
Yeah.
1 as well. Those things should not be racing instances on lap 1,
Yeah.
turn 2,
Yeah.
or whatever. It was.
They've said that Gasly was wholly to blame, which is why they penalised it. But Perez came up the inside. Alonso once again threw it around the outside, putting himself at risk. Gasly had a car up the inside that was there first. Alonso was the last to arrive in that situation. Gasly was looking at the inside. I mean, he knew Alonso was there because you could see him looking to the right. And then Perez comes up the inside. He maneuvers himself so that he's not going to crash with Perez and then understeers into Alonso. Yes, there was space there, but because of the conditions, it's lap 1, turn 1. He wasn't able to
Was it turn
accurately
1?
judge it.
Yeah,
Yes, it was turn 1.
So I thought it was turn 2, but yeah, good.
That's turn 1. So it's just crazy. I can't believe that they gave a penalty for that. And then Alonso, again, this later that lap or start next lap, plows into Schumacher completely on his own, no excuse. Now, out of those two incidents, what do you think is the worst incident?
Oh yeah, definitely the Mick Schumacher one.
Right,
Because
so they're both
that ruined his race, and it wasn't a racing instant.
Yeah, so that was a 5-second penalty, right?
Yeah.
And the Gasly one was a 5-second penalty and 2 penalty points on Gasly's license.
Yeah.
Which is just unbelievable. And this whole thing with Alonso, where he's been criticizing the stewards, and he's been saying, I do think stewards are wrong in this case, but he was saying about how the nationality of the driver counts towards what the stewards' decisions are. And,
Yeah, it does. Spanish seems to win.
well, yeah, exactly. When was the last time he got a sporting penalty? Apart from this week, before this race, when was the last time Alonso got a sporting penalty? I can't remember one. I can't remember one.
He missed the corner last week.
Yeah, no, and got away with it. They didn't even question it, which completely goes against his point.
Didn't he sort of admit that he just decided to do that?
He said he would do it on purpose. He did it on purpose because he wanted to prove a point. And then the point he was trying to prove was that basically, without saying it out loud, British people get a better run of luck than other nationalities. But then he got away with that. It wasn't even questioned. And he gets away with more things in races than anything else, which is why, as you'll notice, I put it in the thing. I call him Teflonzo. Because nothing sticks. Nothing sticks. I think he was referred to as Teflonzo last time he was in Formula One because he could never get anything sticking. So yeah, his comments just in general really annoyed me this weekend. And
what was his comments pre-race then?
Well, it was all about after the last race, just about about the stewards and I swear he just does this to get a rise out of people, and it annoys me.
He likes to. I mean, he has a whole fucking Amazon Prime show about him. You know, it's definitely the Alonso show. Yeah. You know, that's sort of part of it. You know, so, and he's there to promote his brand Kimura or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
you know, that's exactly what he's there for and what he's doing. He doesn't actually care about the racing. He's just trying to make money. We're fair play on him in that sense.
I think he's there for the racing, but I just think it's just
he's definitely no goat anyway.
No, definitely not. Bez is gonna completely unsubscribed now, but there we go. So standings wise, that's Hamilton is not in top. I'm looking at 2020 standings. Okay, that's the wrong
That's not useful.
standings. That's
Yeah.
no good.
Let's
That's
try
not,
this year's.
Hamilton is not on top. Let's have a look at the 2021 standings, shall we? Drivers. There we go. I hate this website. So Max Verstappen on top, 262.5. Hamilton second, 256.5.
And a half.
Then we get Valtteri Bottas on 177. Then we get a random pop-up from Formula One, which I've just had to close. Then Lando Norris, 145, way back from Bottas now. Sergio Perez still only in fifth, 10 points back from Norris. Carlos Sainz just half a point ahead of his teammate Charles Leclerc on 116. Daniel Ricciardo in 8th with 95. Pierre Gasly 9th with 74. And Fernando Alonso rounds out the top 10 on 58 points, still 12 points ahead of Ocon. So the Constructors' Championship is also on 2020, according to this. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, let's get rid of that.
Let's try and get it onto the right one.
Yes, I've loaded up the wrong web page here. So the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes still lead 433.5 to 397.5. I think Red Bull are in a good spot for the Constructors' Championship, but they really need to maximise. McLaren 240, just 7.5 points ahead of Ferrari, and I do think Ferrari are looking the business now. I think Ferrari are looking like the third quickest team. The two new engines they've got in those cars.
It's a shame.
It's going to be a real steal if McLaren can hold on to this, to be honest.
Well, they're trying.
They're trying, absolutely.
Norris
But
and they're getting in there with the win.
yeah, they just need Ricciardo to perform. They need Ricciardo to perform. If they can get Ricciardo getting similar results to Norris, then they've got a chance. Alpine still in fifth place for 104, 92. AlphaTauri and Aston Martin a distant seventh with 61. Williams 23, Alpha 7, and has still yet to score and will not score. So that's the standings. What do we reckon for Driver of the Day?
Driver of the day.
That's so loud every time. It shocks me. I actually called it the real one.
What,
which was Sainz. Yeah.
Again, most exciting Driver of the Day.
Yeah, and I think so. I called it as Sainz, and then I said, who did come second?
In the race, Verstappen.
No, who came second in the?
No idea.
In the thing, because I called 1 and 2. I said to Laura that'd be it, and I was right. I think it probably was Sainz, to be honest.
I still think Bottas.
What?
I still think for Driver of the Day. I look at the list and I think, well, Bottas controlled the race. When Verstappen came back at him, he upped his pace. He controlled the race. He won by not quite a pit stop,
Actually,
but
Bottas was second. That was it. Bottas was second.
Yeah, he was a very comfortable second place. Very comfortable up front. Verstappen, yeah, fine. Perez defended well. He did a good team job, but he wasn't the best driver of the day. Obviously, Hamilton, no, he made a mistake. And I look down through the list there, and I just think it can only be Sainz or Bottas. And for me, Bottas was the one that actually performed, because Sainz was coming through in a much quicker car. It's easy to come through in a quicker car when you're starting at the back. If you're starting 10th, then you can only really go up 5 or 6 places. If you're starting last, you're going to get back to 10th. Yeah. You're going to make up more spaces because the cars behind have got no pace compared to you. So he had the second quickest car on the track, in my opinion. I think the Ferrari was just as quick as the Red Bull.
In the same breath, then Bottas was in the quickest car.
But look at what he did with it. Look at what he did with it. He did a phenomenal job with it. So for me, it's Bottas, but I won't argue with Sainz. We can agree to disagree on that if you're passionate about that. I'm
not overly passionate. Fine. I can care less in some ways. So I think both were grand. I'm happy to go with Bottas. I mean, he won't get it that often, and Sainz has more chance of being driver of the day than Bottas.
And to be fair, Sainz is driver of the day quite a lot and just doesn't get noticed. So I feel bad not giving it to him. But no, I think on this occasion, it's Bottas.
Yeah. Who's our dick of the day?
Well, it has to be the Alfa Romeo.
Yep, that's what I had. Alfa Romeo shit show.
I didn't really know what happened, but under your understanding that it probably has to be Alfa Romeo, or I mean, you could go with Hamilton and that, but I think that was just a disagreement as opposed to anything being dickish.
There is this narrative that they want to portray of Hamilton when he ever has a go at people on the radio. He came out on Instagram after the race and said, this is, we say this kind of stuff all the time. It's in the heat of battle after the race. It doesn't even get mentioned, and that's fine. If you put microphones on footballers,
he wasn't rude. He was just going, well, we should have. That's not right, man. That's exactly. We shouldn't have done that, man. I'm now behind him. That's just a bit shit. That's all he really said, which was, in his opinion, he shouldn't have done. That's not a dickish thing. That's just a disagreement in business and a disagreement in driving. It's not a dickish thing to have a differing of opinion to your teammates. I don't think it was right, but that's not a dick move. And
again, Raikkonen. I saw some things on the internet about this, and they're saying, "Oh God, they were saying he's such a dick because of everything that he says to his team." And it's just like,
that's not a dick. He wasn't rude. He just went, "We shouldn't have done that, man. It was the wrong decision, man."
Yeah, and he did say, he did say, "Oh, I told you," and he did get a bit.
But I told you. That's not a dick thing to say. I told you.
Yeah, but then Raikkonen, he's the darling of the pit lane because look at him showing emotion, and then Lando Norris last week or a couple of weeks back in Russia when he was they were asking him about tyres, he's saying, "No, shut up." Yeah, that's rude.
Yeah, that's probably ruder than
everyone loves Lando, and that's fine because I love Lando. He's my boy. I love Lando, but it's no worse than that, and everyone loves them for that. It's just when you hear radio messages, sometimes I like to think. Imagine that radio message was Hamilton. What would the response be? And almost universally, it's negative.
Yeah.
So no, that Hamilton doesn't even get a nomination for Dick of the Day for that.
I do wonder what people's issues are and what people's understanding of being a dick is, because it's certainly not in our view of what a dick is. Having a disagreement is not being a dick, and a dick is someone that does something bloody stupid and irresponsible. And neither Hamilton or his team did anything irresponsible, rude, nothing that couldn't be taken back unchanged, while the Alpha team were just all being dicks. The whole team. Just
the drivers and the team were all being dicks.
Yeah.
That team needs a big overhaul.
Just spiteful. Everything was just spiteful and everything there.
Yeah, that team needs a big overhaul, definitely.
Well, the Hamilton and the Bono thing is, it's a relationship that they're obviously used to, and they obviously are going to have heat of battle things in the same way that Norris and his man do as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's just a way of doing things, and throwing your toys out the pan is not one.
Anyway, it's all going to lead to a very exciting climax of the championship. We've got 2 triple headers to finish now. So we've got Mexico, Brazil, and what's the other one? We've got 3 in the Americas. Oh, no, sorry. The third one is Qatar.
Yeah.
And then it's Jeddah. Oh, it's Qatar, Jeddah. Oh, I've forgotten what it is now.
Qatar, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, Qatar.
That's it.
Jeddah, Brat.
No, Saudi Arabia.
That's it.
Right. No. It's USA, Mexico, Brazil. That's what it is, and then it's Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi. Yeah. So we got. I forgot about Brazil. Yeah. So it's USA, Mexico, Brazil. That's the triple header, and then we've got. Well, it's not a triple header actually. To be fair, it's USA, and then it's Mexico.
No, isn't Brazil? No, isn't the triple header between Brazil and?
Yeah, Mexico, Brazil, and Qatar.
And Qatar. Yeah,
Mexico, Brazil, Qatar is the triple header. So it's USA, then Mexico, Brazil, Qatar, and then we've got Saudi,
which is hilarious. Mexico, Brazil, Qatar.
Yeah, and then you got Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, all really close to each other, and then that should be the triple header. But so we got one race, then we got a triple header, and then a double header to finish from Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi. It's it's going to be a really exciting finish to the season.
Yeah.
And I mean, USA.
I don't really know much about the circuit in Americas because they didn't go there last year.
No, they didn't, but it's a great track.
I don't know anything about it because
I mean, Hamilton's won there loads of times, but it is a track that does. I don't really
know much about the Mexican and Brazilian. Mexican's the one with the stands where they literally drive through the stands.
Yeah, they drive through the old baseball stadium, and then Brazil's brilliant. So I mean,
Again,
Brazil.
Apart
The
from
next three races.
apart from, the
next three
race I
sorry.
know anything about would be Abu Dhabi.
The next three races, I think Hamilton has had success at the next three races, but they do overall suit the Red Bull style of car. So it's going to be an interesting few races. But I do think the last couple of races will probably suit the Mercedes. So if Hamilton can come out of Brazil leading the championship, then I think he will win the championship. If he can come out of Brazil level or within a couple of points of Verstappen, then I think he's still the favourite to win, because Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi and Qatar, I think overall will suit the Mercedes over the Red Bull. But one thing we do have in Austin is a double header of support races in W Series. They're going to complete their season. They were originally supposed to be doing Circuit of Americas and Mexico City, but I think probably because of COVID, they've decided to just finish with a double header at COTA. So we've got qualifying on the Friday, the 22nd, and a race on the 23rd. And then I believe we then got a qualifying on the 23rd for the race on the 24th. So W Series is finishing its season in 2 weeks.
And
so we've got Alice Powell leading the championship at the moment with 109 points, with Jamie Chadwick second with 109 points.
Why is she second?
I think it's on race wins. It's on race wins, pole positions, and overall finishes. So she's basically top based on that. So with 2 races to go, it'd be quite interesting if we had Powell followed by Chadwick for one race and Chadwick followed by Powell for the second race.
Which would then give it to Powell.
It would do, yeah. Emma Kimmerleinen's third with 75 points, some way back. She can still win, but it's very unlikely. But she's had a good, consistent season. But it looks like it's between Chadwick and Powell. I'm torn. I'm torn. Part of me wants Chadwick to win because and also she won it last year, and she would then be the only person to ever win the series twice, because they're not going to allow the champion to return from next season. But Alice Powell's got a great story behind her.
They're not returning the W Series.
No, they're not returning the champion, like Formula 2.
Oh.
So she would be the only person who would ever be able to win it twice.
And floats around a bit.
I don't think she'd do a third season of W Series anyway. But Alice Powell's got a great story, so I quite like her to win as well. Well, yeah, she was a good up and coming racer years back. Couldn't get the budget, got a job as a painter and decorator or something like that, and then W Series came along and it rescued her career. Whereas Chadwick would have had a career anyway, whatever happens. She's a great talent, and she's got links with Formula One. Alice Powell's got nothing, so part of me wants it to be Chadwick to kind of prove that if Chadwick doesn't win W Series this year, I think that's going to be difficult for her to then get into Formula One. Whereas Powell will probably never make it into Formula One.
Oh, they're both British. That's what I care about.
Yeah, but I just think story-wise, it's a nicer story for Powell. But equally, I won't be disappointed if it's Chadwick either. So I'll be happy either way, to be honest. So, but that's your W Series. You can get that. It's you can watch it on Channel 4, and it's worldwide. It's got worldwide viewing contracts, so you can pick it up anyway. Just Google it and see where you can get it. So yeah, that's kind of. I think that's tied us up really for the week. We've got no racing next week, so we probably won't podcast next week, I imagine. We'll see. We'll see what comes up. We may be able to. But yeah, you can tell the season's coming to an end. We've got no IndyCar. We've got no Formula 2 because their next race is in Jeddah. We've got no Formula 3 because that's finished. Extremely have only got a few races. Only got 6 races in total. Formula E's finished, so we're kind of running out of content now, which is
nice.
It's kind of nice in some ways because we get to just kind of chill out a bit more. Yeah, just have a bit of fun. But yeah, we're gonna
look at next season and what we're gonna do with next season.
Yeah, that's fine. We will let you guys know on that, what happens and when it happens. But I guess that probably wraps us up for the week.
That does. Cool. I shall see you maybe next week, maybe the week after.
Excellent. All right.
Bye.
Bye.